Welcome to HD Nation Tech Feed Edition, your guide to the best in HD content and the best in home theater gear, no matter what your budget is. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Robert Heron.
Big week for news this week, and wattage and consoles. A lot of console news this week, but gee whiz, you guys are piling up a lot of questions about AV receivers. And if you have a question for us, email hdnation@revision3.com or tweet at HDNation. Thank
Tweet
you.
us, people. We'd love to hear from you.
Or at Robert Heron or at Patrick Norton.
Do it.
But let's talk about news this week. PlayStation 4 gonna get Sony's 4K video service, but beyond that, almost no 4K at E3, probably because there is no 4K televisions. There's like 8 people who own 4K televisions right now. A lot of great eye candy from E3, a lot of gorgeous games, but there's not going to be any 4K gaming off the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4. Not a surprise, because neither box actually has a powerful enough GPU to render 3D video games at 4K.
Totally. Now, I'm assuming they're going to have an output option that will do upscaling to that resolution, but native compute power to do 4K resolution? Not quite.
It's very simple. It'll be 1080p out of your console. It'll go into your 4K HDTV or your receiver, which will upscale it to 4K.
And as I've looked at it on a couple of test samples, 1080p does look pretty good upscaled to 4K resolution. So your game should look pretty darn good, especially I think gaming content where there's less detail than you're going to see in the real world for most games, of course. But
there you have it.
It's pretty good. Also, cloud gaming is coming to LG smart TVs, announced today, hot off the E3 Newswire.
Are so excited about this.
This they demonstrated at E3 or at CES in January, and now finally the beta is available. We're talking about basically if you have a new LG smart TV, you can download the new Ubitus-based Game Now Cloud Gaming, and it's a free beta, apparently available right now. We have a brand new LG 7400 TV in-house right now, and I went to go look for it. It's not there yet. But when we show you that TV, we'll hopefully have a demo of that as well. Now, this is streaming gaming. It will allow basically anybody with a newer LG Smart TV to, quote, play console-quality video games on demand, including blockbuster titles like Street Fighter X, Tekken, and Batman Arkham City that usually required more high-end hardware to play, definitely more than you'll find in any of the HDTVs out there today.
So this is Ubitus, which was Game On, not to be confused with On Live or Gaikai, all of which do cloud-based rendering so you can play video games on your slower device than a console or PC.
Totally. It's almost like a video streaming service. Then the control signals get sent back, and all the processing's done on the back end. So hopefully it lets you do high-end graphics on systems that normally wouldn't run it.
Beyond Angry Birds, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, not that that's not a bad thing, but or a good thing anyway. Hey,
especially on the Roku 3.
Oh, yes.
If you have Roku 3 questions, ask us. We reviewed it on TechZilla. We're going to review it on here. And by the way, this show is going to be available on an RSS feed. You can download June 19th.
Thank you.
Revision3.com/HDNation.
You guys are awesome. Chris emailed us. He just ordered a Blu-ray player after I'm reading his email, after one of my kids ripped out our DVD tray drive. I know some Blu-ray transfers are not the greatest. Any specific movies to watch first? That will knock my socks off. Thanks, signed Chris.
Oh my goodness. Okay, are we talking about with or without the kids?
That's a great question, actually.
If you're with the kids, I'd say, and I'm all about 2D, not 3D here. Hugo, Martin Scorsese's love letter to his grandchildren about cinema, wonder, and art. It is a spectacular movie. Might be a little scary for the smaller kids. The Wizard of Oz looks incredible in Blu-ray. Probably the best restoration ever done on a classic film. Pixar does great work. Finding Nemo, been re-rendered, especially gorgeous. Look for the textures of the scales on the fish. That's all I'm going to say. Last time the Blu-ray came out, I spent an entire, Finding Nemo looks incredible on Blu-ray. WALL-E, any of the Toy Story movies. Up is especially good for showing off surround sound systems. The Life series from BBC. David Attenborough or Oprah narrating, your choice.
Samsara and Baraka. Baraka in particular was an 8K scan of the original 16mm restoration. About 16 times the data that they then squished down to DVD or Blu-ray resolution to provide just not only one of the best sound experiences, we're talking full quality there, but visually it's just stunning to look at. And it incorporates real world scenes filmed around the world. So I like that more than just looking at straight animation or even the mixes you see nowadays with like Hugo and other films as well. Now, getting toward the tweens and the teens, the Avengers and the Star Trek reboot are two great ones to check out. And of course, Avatar. That movie was built from the ground up to be in 3D. And I suppose if I'm going to mention that, I should mention that Titanic as well is in 3D. That is another great one to check out.
Titanic, and basically, like, if you're irritated about 3D, blame James Cameron and watch the Titanic or Avatar 3D Blu-ray versions. Both are the benchmarks for 3D cinematic experiences.
And
Yeah.
I'd say if the kids are asleep, I go with some higher end titles. You know, The Dark Knight remains one of my favorite movies because anything that incorporates the IMAX cutscenes or several scenes that were just filmed in that format, when those scale out to 16:9, they look beautiful. And I'll throw in there Inception.
Yeah.
And did we mention The Avengers as well?
But let's mention it again. The Coen brothers, No Country for Old Men, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, The Big Lebowski, all benchmark films. They are spectacularly shot, and I think we own all of them between the two of us in multiple
Most
formats. And oh my goodness.
Casino Royale and Skyfall. Now, Skyfall in particular, I think, has one of the best scenes in terms of just seeing how good dynamic range can be, the difference between the darkest parts of the picture and the brightest parts of the picture. If your TV's set up right, it's going to really show it off nicely.
And booms and explosions, too.
And now that most of the Bond movies have been remastered as well, if there's another favorite out there that you haven't watched yet in any kind of restored or upgraded condition, check it out. Also, the classic re-releases that are given the best restorations currently available: 2001, A Space Odyssey, Casablanca, even Hitchcock's Psycho in black and white. I rank among the most visually pleasing things I've seen recently. It's just, if you've never explored that content, it's a perfect time to get into it.
It's fun watching you embrace classic cinema for the first time. Like Lawrence of Arabia,
where have I been?
The Third Man, and the Godfather collection. I think there's a special Coppola restoration. All of them look spectacular. Oh, and television series.
I always forget to mention the new series.
Oh my goodness, Justified, love it. Pretty much own all of them on Blu-ray. The Pacific, Band of Brothers, Battlestar Galactica, Deadwood, House of Cards. Many of which were actually HBO. The last one, of course, being Netflix new series.
Very cool.
That just hit Blu-ray. Spectacularly shot.
Now, you could also use your favorite reference disc or Blu-ray to show off how awesome your home theater is. And one of them, I'll just mention real quick, is the Disney Wow disc. That actually has a demo that shows you a very good scene that'll go between DVD resolution and Blu-ray resolution. But hey, no matter how awesome you think our collection is right here, if it's not on the list, email us. Tell us what you think your best reference disc is, or 3D disc, or what shows off your gear.
The movie you loved, when people come over and be like, you spent how much on this home theater, and you sit them down in that seat and you fire up that movie or that scene, we want to know what it is.
Audio as well. If you've got a great audio disc that just always blows you away in terms of when you're watching movies in particular, I'm thinking of surround soundtracks, email us at hdnation@revision3.com or tweet us at hdnation.
So we've got a couple of tweets from folks basically looking for help buying an AVR, an audiovisual receiver, the 5.1, 7.1, or higher box that basically takes the signal over HDMI from your Blu-ray player or your set-top box, then converts it into multiple channels, amplifies it, maybe tweaks it, and sends it around. First one comes from at PGJ1, who tweets at HDNation, how do I choose a new AV receiver for my current speaker setup with regards to power needs? And
at Scott Dulgarian tweets, at HDNation, I need an AVR. Recommend budget, please, of $500. I'm confused on how differently each company advertises power output, THD percentages, and apparently Scott's using ceiling-mounted 5.1 speakers from B&W, which I imagine sound just delicious.
Now, unless you have incredibly inefficient speakers or a massive viewing room, and I always say massive, I mean hockey arena size, not like a 15 by 20 room, I would venture that almost any AVR, AV receiver you're going to buy is going to have way more wattage on tap than your ears can safely handle. It's kind of funny, right? Because I'm actually thinking about upgrading my Denon AVR, and while access to Odyssey's multi-EQ, which maps your room and tunes the audio output to the amp for the best surround results, programmable inputs, more inputs, taking a look at an on-screen display that actually looks decent, or actually having volume information on my screen. Power output never actually entered the picture for me as long as the total harmonic distortion isn't ridiculous.
And wattage. It always seems like, you know what, do you need 1,000 watts in order to drive a nice 5.1 system?
No. Wattage ratings are a lot like megapixel ratings on cameras. Everybody wants more. The people doing the marketing for CE companies, consumer electronics companies, are like, well, if Robert's staring at a bunch of boxes and he sees this home theater in a box with 600 watts and this home theater in a box with 1,400 watts, he's going to grab the one with 1,400 watts, right? In theory, everybody wants more, but overall, wattage is just one small piece of the puzzle. Seriously, dB, the logarithmic scale that basically measures what you can hear, sound level, volume, doubling the wattage going into the same set of speakers is like a 2 or 3 decibel increase. Now, in theory, 1 decibel is the smallest change your ear can detect. Doubling the volume, you're talking about 6 dB to 10 dB, or 4 to 10 times the power. So, to double the volume, I need to go from a 100-watt amplifier to a 1,000-watt amplifier.
Yikes.
Yikes, yeah.
What about efficiency for speakers? That plays a big role in it as well, doesn't it?
Efficiency is really kind of amazing because, you know, you go to a classic my neighbor has this insane set of vintage Klipsch speakers. They're like 91 or 92 dB efficient. He can put a little tiny 300 B tube-powered amplifier into those. And you have volume, right? So it's like 91 or 2 dB. So it's like 92 dB at 1 meter from the speaker with 1 watt input. That's how they measure efficiency. A lot of less expensive speakers, you start getting down to the 85, 87 dB. You don't need a huge amount of efficiency out of a speaker, right? More efficient a speaker is, the more dB or the larger the volume is going to be for a given wattage going into it.
Totally.
But you're going to see all over the map, somewhere in the mid 80s, maybe up to 91 or 92 dB.
So when you're shopping for that set of speakers, is that one spec you should focus on a little bit at least? In terms of if you're comparing speaker sets in particular.
Most speakers have like an RMS rating. I would start by I would listen and listen and listen. Find the speakers you want. Read the reviews online. Listen to our recommendations. Find the speakers you want. Then I would get an amplifier, an AVR that provides the continuous or RMS wattage ratings that work within the range of that speaker. Because the truth is like, look, I can run a 1,000 watt amplifier into a speaker rated for 100 watts RMS as long as I don't turn it up all the way.
Is that scenario where they're still posting peak wattage instead of the continuous wattage? That's the one you should really focus on. Ignore the blasting number, but the number that it can maintain consistently.
Well, sometimes you'll see like, this amplifier has 1,000 watts. And you're like, it's got 1,000 watts. And it's like, okay, that's peak. Okay, so its actual RMS is like 400 watts, and the total harmonic distortion at peak RMS or at peak wattage is like 12%. Like that may be the most extreme example I ever saw. Like a couple percent, things start getting weird, right?
Totally.
It just, so basically, look at total harmonic distortion. It should be small, probably like 1%, 2%, less than 1%, 0.0005%.
It's getting better every year, it seems.
Yeah, we could probably do an entire show just talking about total harmonic distortion. But low total harmonic distortion, look for the RMS rating, not the peak rating, because the peak rating may sound so awful you never want to listen to it, or you never may get to listen to those speakers again because there's so much noise at the peak that they blow out your speaker cones or your speaker coils. Bzz. Yes, that would be bad.
Sounding good. Hey, somebody's got a great question here.
At Mo Brenna 91 tweets at AC Nation, is there any reason to buy a projector with 3D, or is this a hopeless function?
Not at all. Home theater projectors, especially DLP projectors, the cheapest ones you can, well, there are expensive DLP projectors out there, but starting at about $1,000, you can get a great 3D projector, maybe even a little less than that. The key is the performance of the chip, DLP or digital light projection. Is that what it is? DLP? Yeah, digital light projection.
Sounds about right.
And the speed of that chip is such that it can produce the left-right imagery at very high speeds, and it keeps it completely separate for left and right eye viewing. It provides not only the large screen experience you want with 3D, but it provides it with minimal crosstalk, that part where the stuff that should be going in the right eye is going in the left eye, or both. It minimizes that artifact, producing very good quality, and it can be one of the more affordable 3D displays out there. So don't poo-poo the low-end or entry-level projectors that are offering 3D. That might be one of the best ways you can do it at an affordable price.
Yeah, 3D is not bad, you just may never use it. And DLP, digital light processing.
Thank you.
I've double-checked. Wikipedia knows all and sees all. But yeah, you may never use 3D, but it's kind of, in a lot of cases, it's just a checkbox feature.
Totally. I'm thinking the digital micro mirror device. It's the mirrors, that one. Now, there are other 3D technologies out there, LCOS or other display technologies out there that include not just DLP, but LCOS as well as, which is liquid crystalline silicon, in addition to, well, I guess those are the two main ones. You have LCD-based projectors as well, and they will do 3D, but I find that the DLP technology for the entry-level price points are giving you the best performance.
Right. I mean, when you start getting into the like $5,000 to $25,000 range on projectors, a lot of that is about color and the blacks, and the blacks suddenly get,
the setup out of the box and light output. If you really want to do a bright projector, they tend to be a little more expensive, especially for if you want to watch a projector in the daytime. You're going to need a light cannon, essentially.
I'm just thinking of the projector we had in from Digital Projection, which was just like, it was, all I got to do is sell my truck and my wife's car, buy that projector, perfection. All right, from the HDN YouTube comments, this question comes from a viewer named Skylar. He says, I have a 55-inch Samsung TV that I got from a previous roommate. The front of the display is shattered in the lower left-hand portion of the screen. Looks about the size of someone's fist. Haha. It worked up until the point that it was hit. Could it be easily fixed, or would putting that money towards a new TV be a better deal? Oh boy.
I'm going to say replacement of an LCD panel will not be a cheap fix.
And we love fixing things. We love DIY. We hate sending things to the dump. So we're going to tell you how to recycle it
essentially that. And save your money for that new set.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to recycle it safely and cheaply, my local waste management accepts any electronic device for disposal free of charge. You may also want to check for local repair shops and see if they'd be interested in the set for simply spare parts. Either the control boards, maybe some other integrated parts could be scrapped and used in other places. That might not be as easy to pull, though.
Well, it's funny, like Call to Recycle, Earth 911, E-Cycling Center, the EPA has a whole page on this. Electronics, keep the flat panel out of the dump. I mean,
totally.
Part of this, though, is easily completely out of the question. If the LCD is broken or shattered, you have to find a replacement. That's a nightmare. They're a pain to find, and they're a pain to replace. Because oftentimes, if you can imagine sort of a piece of glass and a supportive frame, and then sort of like multiple layers of material, then the LCD, and then all of the electronics that power the LCD, and who knows what all else, and they may actually be glued together, not screwed together. It is like the ultimate sandwich of doom. So, you know, maybe if the LCD was still working and the glass was broken, I'd say, hey, it's protective glass in front of the screen. You might be able to pull the glass off and still use the screen, although there may be filters built into the screen so the colors will look funny. But the reality is look, one, you're probably never going to be able to find a replacement LCD for this LCD panel for this LCD monitor. Cue people emailing lots of lists from eBay of things I think we can't find. You know, but generally speaking, this is one of those rare cases where we'll replace it no matter what happened to it. Warranty would have actually been worth the money it costs.
Yeah, and also LCD panels are optimized for a particular model. It's hard to grab LCD Y and put it with LCD Z TV. It might not work, period. So don't think even if you could get a replacement, unless it's the exact same model from the same manufacturer, it might not look right anyway. And then you'd be out the money you spent just to get that repair finished.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's, we would love to, I would love to be able to say, hey, there's an easy source for replacement panels and you can do it, but 94 times out of 100, the answer is gonna be no. Quick thought, you got an amazing home theater system, you got a home theater system stuffed into your dorm room, we would love to see it. Email it to hdnation@revision3.com. And before we head out, we want to announce Revision 3's new network, Test Tube.
Test Tube explores science, the nature of things, life, curiosity, and all-around awesome content. Check out all the new shows at testtube.com, and please tell your friends.
All right, that's it for this episode of HD Nation Tech Feed Edition. You can subscribe to Tech Feed to get our show on your YouTube lineup, or you can go to revision3.com/HDNation and get our RSS feed as of June 19th, and tell us what you think. HDNation@revision3.com.
That's right, and please post any comments, questions, or suggestions down below. And until next time, thank you for watching.